Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and here we have a very special guest on the show today. And we have Elizabeth Carazza of ElizabethCarazza.com. Elizabeth, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Gresh, for having me. I am thrilled to be here today.
No problem. Super excited to have you on. And before we jumped in, I wanted to read a little bit more about Elizabeth so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Elizabeth is a career strategist and media contributor in Los Angeles and New York City. She helps business professionals improve their image, messaging, and personal branding. She coaches and trains executives to reach their full potential by using a proven step-by-step program to sharpen presentation, interview, and communication skills. Representative clients include professionals at Google, Square, Facebook, Morgan Stanley, Pfizer, and many prominent New York-based hedge funds. In previous, Elizabeth was a TV news anchor for Reuters, where she ran the New York, U.S. China TV business news desk. She has interviewed hundreds of the world's top CEOs and investors such as Blackstone's Steven Schwarzman, Jim Rogers, and Wilbur Ross. Elizabeth is also a TV contributor, a regular on CNN, Fox News, and Cheddar TV. And her advice has been featured in print publications including New York Magazine, NASDAQ, Entrepreneur, and many more. Elizabeth, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I'm so excited. I'm ready.
Let's do it. So to kick everything off, I wanted to kind of rewind the clock a little bit here, a little bit more on how you got started. Could you take us through your CEO story? We'll let you start all the awesome things you're working on.
Yes, as you mentioned, I was a television anchor at Reuters TV, and I ran the U.S. China Business TV news desk. So I traveled the globe and reporting from different stock exchanges, including New York City. And, I found that even though I was so grateful for that experience, my favorite part of the job was when I would be in front of somebody in the green room getting ready for that interview. And if they were nervous or, sweating or whatever it was, giving them the tips and tools to speak with confidence was so rewarding. So I knew that's what I needed to do and that's what I had to do. So I left and I was then hired as a consultant for Thomson Reuters, doing business and executive training. And then from there, I started my own practice, got my coaching certification, and now, coach many amazing individuals and companies.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And I think if it's not the highest sphere, it might be right after that is public speaking and being able to kind of communicate yourself. And I feel like, and I don't know if you definitely feel the same way, that a lot of times the way and how you communicate yourself and your personal brand and how that comes across sometimes determines how successful you are, how great your products and services are. And a lot of times you want to make sure you're sure of that. So you put forth your best self.
Well, yes, for sure. I mean, I had a real fear of public speaking for most of my life before I became a reporter and TV anchor. And that just kind of thrust me into the spotlight. So it was kind of do or die. You had to do it. But I mean, I know how it feels to have that fear. So I always, speak about practicing when the stakes are high, when you're about to have an important conversation or pitch yourself, practice. Write out like, what is the main goal of this conversation that I'm having? What are the 3 key points that I want them to walk away with? Because at the end of the day, they're going to end up remembering 8% of your conversation. So what's most important? And then what is your call to action? What is your ask? Have that prepared. I mean, even if it's just in the notes of your phone, or in a text to yourself, whatever it is, have a plan and be prepared, because when you write it out and practice it beforehand, your words are spoken for you when you do feel those butterflies or you do feel those nerves.
Yeah, I appreciate you for breaking that down, because I think so many times we don't always see kind of the behind the scenes and the build up and the practice that it takes to get and have that interview. A lot of times we just see the interview and that's all we know and that's all we think. But a lot of times, even with the preparation that leads itself forward to what we see, is something that we have to focus on.
Yes, yes, yes. And what you said was focus. I mean, that word really just kind of resonates with me. It's that laser sharp focus, having a plan. What is it that I want? What is it that I want to do? And how can I get there? How can I ask? I always say you don't get what you don't ask for. So what is your ask? What is your outcome? What outcome do you want? And then from there, backtrack the steps that you need to be taking.
Yeah, absolutely. All about understanding where you want to go and kind of reverse engineering there. And sometimes we forget that when we're on interviews or in front of the limelight, so to speak. So I know you touched on it a little bit, and I know that's something you do for clients you work with. So could you take us through a little bit more about those services and how exactly you help support those clients and what exactly that process looks like?
Sure. I mean, people usually come to me, prospective clients come to me because they're looking for more. They're feeling either frustrated or they're unhappy in the position that they're in. They either want a new job or perhaps transfer to another department. A lot of people also come to me for trying to get their own plan together for asking for a promotion or raise. So I can help them with that. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about getting clear on what you want, which is I have a process that we go through, and then mapping out the steps, the timeline, and figuring out what is it that I have to do to get that promotion, to get that raise, to kind of have the courage to have some of these conversations. But you're not just winging it, you're planning it, and there's a strategy behind all of it.
Yeah, I appreciate you again for kind of talking about that because a lot of times when you get a raise or you have a success, again, you just see that finish line moment. You don't see the preparation. I knew that, 6 months from now or a year from now, I wanted to ask for that raise. So in order to increase the likelihood of that happening, I'm going to do these things. So that's why I love that kind of continual support it sounds like you provide for your clients.
Yes, yes, it's really very collaborative. It's not just me telling somebody what to do. It's
All right.
it's really brainstorming and coming up with that master plan. Like for example, I had a client who, was in quarantine and working from home, and she was in her contract, a raise was supposed to be on the table, a promotion. And she said, but I am a little bit nervous about asking for it right now. I said, well, okay, there's a few things you want to look for. A, is your manager, your company, are they happy with you right now? B, are you in the green? Do they have the money for it? Because of course, with COVID, a lot of companies are in the red. Um, and from there, you want to make sure your boss or manager, if you do go for this, is in a good mood. Don't approach something when you want something when someone is so horribly cranky, or you can just tell they're not themselves. So that is not the time to ask. But we came up with a plan, and because of these different factors that were in her favor, it was time to remind her manager, her boss. They had this conversation. He said, I'm so happy you told me because I haven't even looked at your contract in over a year. So let's get this rolling. So at the end of the day, you don't get what you don't ask for, but you want to make sure it's the right timing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely sometimes you get so caught up in the ash, you don't kind of read the room, so to speak, and understand the situation and everything's happening. But I love those kind of three methodical questions you ask because it helps you to kind of be aware of not just what you want, but also the timing, the environment, and all those things to make sure, again, you can be successful.
Exactly, exactly. And like you said, read the room. I mean, know your audience. I
Hmm.
mean, that's almost as important as the plan.
Yeah.
Because we all know, and we probably all experience when we have asked for something, or we just have it in our mind, by this date, I'm going to ask for it. And if I'm not going to let another day go by. And then whomever you're asking is in a horrible mood, and then it blows up in your face. So
Right.
factor timing into it. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I wanted to ask you now for what I call your secret sauce. And this could be for you personally or your business or a combination of both. But what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
Well, a few things. I feel like my television anchor background really helps me because I've interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of business professionals, executives, CEOs, millionaire, billionaire investors. And from there, learning from them, learning about their background, and really learning how to communicate and help somebody come up with a strategy because I've had all these resources for all those years. So I feel like it's one thing that sets me apart. And another thing that clients tell me is that I'm very relatable. Okay. So, first of all, I care. I care about people. I'm very empathetic. But at the same time, I don't make them feel badly about themselves. If they've just done a presentation, showed me the recording, it's not their best work, I'll let them know that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I'll also let them know when the exact thing happened to me or somebody else I know. So they don't walk away feeling deflated and their confidence lower. They actually feel lifted, elevated, and kind of motivated and given that energy to really improve and make those create those steps they need to take.
Yeah, that's extremely powerful because I think so many times, especially when you have a blunder or things don't necessarily go your way, you almost automatically feel like you're by yourself. I'm the, the dumbest person in the world, or I wish this or that or third would have happened. But I think understanding that even the most successful people have those kind of speed bumps to their process, and you're not alone is natural. But how can I take those next steps so that that is less likely to happen again?
Exactly. The best in the business make mistakes. The best presenters in the world, business leaders, politicians, your mentors, everybody, we all make mistakes. It's all about picking yourself up. It's correcting yourself and you move on. You see people on TV all the time misspeaking or flubbing or messing something up. So what? You just keep going. And I feel like we're getting in our own way, in our own heads, because it has to be perfect. And we're so focused on ourselves in that moment, but really it's about the message. It's about what you want to get out there. It's not really about you.
Yeah, that's extremely powerful. And I love that because you kind of spoke to it when you said you were in the back and when you were in the room with the executives and being able to kind of understand and see that they were nervous and how can I put them at peace. And going back to your secret sauce, being able to kind of employ that in so many different ways and having that relatability is so huge in terms of kind of maybe putting down the veil and making it a more calm environment so people can just kind of be their best selves.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's what coaching is. It's about letting down the walls, right? Because
Mm.
how can I help you if your walls are up and you're not sharing with me in that moment of either failure or when you kind of blew it or it just didn't go well. I need to know what was going through your mind. And a lot of people tell me, I was worried it wasn't going to be perfect. I was worried they weren't going to like me. I was worried it wasn't going to be good enough, or Joe Schmo is better than me in the office, and I was just worried about that. So I need to get in there. I need to know what's going through your mind, because chances are it's happened to me, it's happened to my other clients, it's happened to the best in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And we shouldn't definitely forget it or beat ourselves up about that. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
I think something that makes me more effective and efficient is really remembering my purpose and my why, because we all get those moments where we do not feel motivated, that we're questioning ourselves and we're wondering, what am I even doing this for, at times in your career. And I feel like when you remember your why and your purpose, for example, I know why my purpose is because I want to help people feel like their best self. I never want them to feel self-doubting and have that imposter syndrome that I used to have. So I want to teach them those tips and tools I use to overcome that, so nobody else has to feel like that. And I feel I get very fulfilled by sharing those tips and seeing the progress from my clients. So that is my why. So when I have to do the admin or other things that about my job that I don't love, that is what fuels me and pushes me forward. So in those moments when you've got bad news or you've gotten bad feedback or a client is not happy or whatever the scenario is, remember why you're doing this, and that will help push you forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that because definitely, obviously, in business, but definitely on a bigger level in life, we have those ups and downs, that roller coaster ride that we often go through. And during those, great moments, you want to make sure you stay clear of your why, so you can continue to kind of propel towards that. But definitely during those not so great moments, you kind of have to remind ourselves of why exactly we're doing what we're doing, because it puts everything, I think, a little bit more in line, and we start to understand that those admin things that we have to do that we may not be as excited about are helping us to be able to do the bigger things that are within our purpose and in alignment with our why.
Exactly, exactly. It's all about aligning with your why and your vision. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
is the vision that you want for your business? What is that vision? Make sure you're writing it down. And in those moments of frustration or even throughout the day, visualizing what you really want it to look like, because that also helps you give a clearer picture and it helps you achieve those goals that sometimes kind of might fall through the cracks.
Yeah, especially in the day-to-day kind of grind of sometimes running a business or life, we often can lose sight of that vision, and to be able to visualize it and to understand it and really have it cemented in what success looks like can help propel you forward towards that. So I wanted to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. And this could be a word of wisdom or a piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Okay. My younger self, younger business self, oh, way back, I would tell myself, you've got this, okay? You don't have to know everything right now. Because I feel like with young people, kind of getting out of college, sometimes we compare ourselves with, or even now at any stage in your career, we compare ourselves with people who have been doing it for years. Do not do that. You can get into your head that way, and self-doubt starts to creep in. Compare yourself with yourself the year before. How much progress have I made? How much progress do I want to make in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, and map that out? But I would say stop comparing yourself to people, especially those who've been doing it for so long and have already achieved mastery. You will get there. Take your time. People know the level you're at, and that's okay. They have accepted that. So don't feel badly that you're not somewhere else. Just keep working towards it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's Matthew McConaughey. He has a speech where he talks about his hero is himself like 10 years from now. And because he's always challenged himself to get better. And then when he gets 10 years down the line, they ask him, have you reached or are you near your hero? It's like, no, it's 10 more years. So when you have that kind of focus, mindset and actions towards being your best self, and you're not getting caught up in the environment or what somebody else is doing, you really have that likelihood of being successful because you're running your own race. You're not running somebody else's.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. You're not running somebody else's race. This is yours. This is your race to win. And you want to set yourself up for success. So surrounding yourself with supportive people, surrounding yourself with people who have done it before. It's great if they've done it in your industry, but you might not have a mentor there. If they've done it in another industry, you can still pick their brain and ask them questions, and just be really open to it, because no matter who is in front of you, how much experience they have or how little experience they have, you can always learn from them. So never think you've got it all, you know more than this person. Just try to keep an open mind.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always another level. And I love how you kind of spoke to, success breeds success, as you talked about, interviewing those successful people, being able to kind of understand, maybe not necessarily in the exact same industry, but again, understanding the DNA, I guess you can say, of success, and being able to kind of implement that and help others to do that as well.
Exactly. And again, when you just said help others, it's also helping the people that are coming up, remembering your younger self,
Yeah.
and giving that time to people. People reach out to me quite often about, they want to know, how I got into coaching, or they want to know, how I became a journalist or what have you. And it's this, like, we're all very busy, even if it's just for 5 minutes, to really try to help that person. And the way I feel like I help people the most is giving them the good, bad, and the ugly, right?
Hmm.
Not just sugarcoating it, because that's just what you see as somebody on TV, and you think, oh wow, that's really great, or that's so cool. Um, but all the challenges that came before getting to that moment, and even in that moment.
Yeah, because I almost feel like that's to the detriment of the person when you aren't able to give them a realistic look at what the process was. If they don't realize that there was, the 10,000 hours you put in, so to speak, in order to get and become successful, they think once they show up, it's going to happen. But in reality, it takes steps, and it's a process in order to get there.
It is. It takes a lot of steps, and it could be a lot of rejection. I mean,
Yeah.
trying to become a reporter in New York City, where I had no on-air experience, everybody told me, you will never do it. You'll never start on air in New York. You're going to have to go to a smaller market. And that just wasn't what I could do. I had to be in that city. So I made it happen through a lot of rejection, a lot of persistence, and you just keep going, because just keep asking for help. I think the bottom line is just keep asking people for help. Make it easy for people to help you. Get clear on
Mhm.
what you want and what you need from them. And you just have to keep going.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And make sure that you continue to kind of keep going, as you said, too, because that helps you to be more likely of being successful. So now I want to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So Elizabeth, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Being a CEO, what does that mean to me? That's a great question. I feel like being a CEO is being able to help others, right? Of course, you're running a business and you need to have income to run that business. But at the end of the day, for me, it's really being able to help others. It's being able to be your own boss, being able to make your own decisions. The buck stops with you. I mean, there's a lot of pressure in that as well. But it's being able to help others and surrounding yourself again by people who can help you, because it can be very lonely at the top, having interviewed so many and being one myself. It can be very isolating because sometimes people feel that pressure when they're at the top and they're a CEO that they need to know everything. And that's why don't isolate yourself. You know, don't be too proud to ask for questions, to ask for help, to have networking meetings, coffees, quarantinis, they call it now on Zoom, because of what's going on with her health situation. But yeah, and because of COVID. So really, if you can't meet somebody for coffee, hop on a phone call, ask them for a 5-minute Zoom or even whatever that might be, to just continue to learn and grow and feel that support. So, because that is what's going to fuel your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so many times you hear the most successful people, and I know you've interviewed them as well in R1. A lot of times we forget that we asked for help at one point and somebody helped us along. So being able to kind of continue that energy, continue that forward movement by helping others is so important. But as you said, you don't get anything you don't ask for. So if you need help, you have to be able to ask for that. And I think that that is something that we always have to make sure we are trying to do and are doing on a regular basis.
Exactly, exactly. And again, a lot of people, there's ego involved, especially the higher we
Mhm.
climb, but you're never too old to have a mentor. Whether
Right.
you know the person or not. I mean, I tell people all the time, you might not have a physical mentor, but just because, you admire a politician or you admire, a celebrity or you admire, a business, executive or CEO, they can still be your mentor. You can still follow them. You can still learn from them. So have comfort in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I say often that sometimes my best mentors have been podcast guests, have been YouTube, has been, books, all those things where a lot of the most successful people have been able to kind of distill down how they've been able to be successful helps you to have that likelihood of doing the same. So truly appreciate that, Elizabeth. And I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you're working on.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, remember, it's normal to have challenges. It's normal to feel frustrated. It's sometimes normal to feel isolated, but you need to be decisive. And remember, the more decisive you are and the more you are able to make those decisions, the less you have to worry about it. Now the decision is made for you. And once you make that decision, you can keep moving forward, keep moving forward, keep moving forward. And the best way to reach me, you can reach me on my website at elizabethkoraca.com or any of my social media handles, which is at elizabethkoraca.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much again, Elizabeth. We will have the links and information in the show notes, and I appreciate that last reminder as well. Too, it's hard to not know which way to go, left or right, if you don't make any decision at all. So the most important thing to do is to make those decisions, and you can always adjust from there. So I appreciate that reminder. I appreciate all the awesome things you're doing, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Gresh. I love being on with you today. Have a good one.
All right, and I'll cut it off here. Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh again from the I Am CEO podcast, and we had a phenomenal interview with Elizabeth Corazza, and she did so many awesome things, during the interview, reminding us of how important it is to kind of put your best self forward, and how she's interviewed so many successful people and been able to kind of distill that information and provide that information for a lot of the people that she works with. So, Elizabeth, for people that may not be aware of the podcast, that haven't listened to that and just might be listening to this bonus section, could you take us through a little bit more about what you do and how exactly you support the clients you work with?
Sure, I would love to, and I'm thrilled to be here. So basically, people will come and approach me, either an individual or a small business or a company, corporation, and they're looking for change. They're looking for new tips and tools on how to speak with confidence, how to give a killer presentation, how to get what you want, how to be more confident when you feel like maybe you've got a little bit of imposter syndrome or you're feeling inadequate, how to perform when your numbers are down. When the chips are down, we're not really feeling our best. So how to motivate, how to get past that so we can still perform and reach that peak level that we're all looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the big things that we kind of talked about or came up during the interview was that idea of being able to kind of communicate yourself and present yourself in the best way possible. And I know that's your expertise and that's what you really focus on. So could you give us like some, I guess, insight and advice on how to present ourselves, whether we're on TV or maybe in front of a group? Like, what are some of the best practices or things you see that can help to increase the likelihood of that being successful?
Well, number one, first and foremost, know what you're talking about. Ask questions, whether it be a presentation. Don't assume, get as much information as possible. And if you're being interviewed on TV or a podcast, and it's going to make you feel more comfortable to get the questions in advance, not all news publications or broadcasters will do that, but you don't get what you don't ask for, so you might as well ask for it anyway. And then you can really prepare. From there, write out your answers. I mean, studies show once you write out your answers, your words are chosen for you. It's going to flow much better when the pressure is on. And then once you write out your answers, think about, okay, how do I want to present myself? Say it out loud. Record yourself on your phone or your laptop or whatever device you have and play it back, because you're going to see the areas that you want to change and you'll be able to make those changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that I love that came up during the podcast. Is I feel like we consistently kind of talked about, I guess, the DNA of success. And part of that DNA of success was like understanding the journey of, being successful, but also the repetition that so many times we miss. We see somebody on TV, we think they woke up and just showed up on TV. But in reality, even you spoke to in how you got started, there's a lot of repetition and time you put in order to be successful.
Exactly. And again, you hit the nail on the head. It's the repetition. It's the repetition. And then it's after kind of doing a post-mortem of, where did I do well? Where did I shine? What do I need to improve on the next time for the next time so I can keep getting better and better? Because the better you feel about yourself, the more confidence you have, and the better you're going to perform.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so many times we skip past that. And you spoke to the strategy piece as well, too, because I think when you mentioned that a lot of times when you talk with people that are looking to maybe ask for a raise or ask for a promotion, so many times you kind of skip over that strategy piece. We just see again that actual time that we're going to ask. But a lot of times there's so many steps we have to take in order to get to that level to be successful.
Exactly. And don't assume when it's time to ask or remind your manager about that promotion or that title change, that salary increase. Don't assume they're going to remember everything that you did for the past year. You might not be their priority, and that's okay, because this is business. They're their own priority, and hopefully they're a good manager and still care about their people. But at the end of the day, you want to remind them about all the great things that you've done. You want to make a list for yourself and kind of touch upon those most important key points. So when you do pitch yourself or you do present this, they're going to say, oh yeah, Gresh really did do a great job this year. He really deserves this. Another thing I would say on this topic is, look, just because they say right now is not the best time, we don't have the money, or right now there's a freeze, get a timeline. When should I follow up? 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it might be. Get that timeline, put it in your calendar, and keep doing it. Don't give up just because you hear no. I mean, and hopefully your manager will be very honest with you. So then when you go back to ask them again and it's still a no, are they giving you the runaround? Or is this really factual truth? It's factual truth, then, if this is where you want to be and this is the company you want to be with, then keep going. But if it's not, and you feel like you are getting the runaround or not treated fairly, now is the time to think about perhaps moving department or go to another company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things you talked about for yourself personally was kind of tying into your why and understanding your why. And I feel like when you're trying to figure out what are those right decisions to make, whether you're going to go right or you're going to go left, a lot of times it sounds like you want to have clarity according to your why so that you're able to strategize around that. So if you know that, hey, if I'm not being treated the way that I want to, it's because this is in alignment with what my vision is for my work, and that's not in alignment. So I'm going to take this next step.
Exactly. So remembering, like you said, my alignment, my vision, the vision for myself, the vision for my business, the vision for my work life and my career. And if it's not lining up with what is going on, it's time to change course, right? It's time to change course and come up with that strategy, talk to other people, invest in a coach, whatever it might be, to change course. Because there's no shame in changing course. That's what the best in the business do to get the results that they're looking for.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask you kind of another question. You've done so many interviews and you've interviewed so many exceptional people. Have you found that there's certain, I guess, trends or words of wisdom that you find that are consistent amongst the quote unquote best and most successful people that you've been able to interview?
I think it's just being determined, persistent, putting the work in, putting the time and the work in to read the documents, to highlight, to make notes for yourself. It's like when you are the best in the business, it's because you're putting the time, you're investing in yourself for new ways to do things, and you're just investing in the material so you know what's going on with your product and your industry. And I just found that the people that I interviewed, they're just extremely determined, like nothing could get in their way. And I really admired that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's why, you mentioned your purpose and your why so much. So Elizabeth, I truly appreciate you for being so helpful and helping provide so much insight for us. What I wanted to do was again, pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and listeners know, and how, of course, they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you're working on.
Yeah, I just also want to mention that, at times, well, we'll see social media and everybody just looks so fantastic and they're doing it and they're going for it. But don't get caught up in that and what someone else has and what you don't have, okay? Focus on yourself. And remember, those times aren't always so stellar for you. So chances are they're not always going to be stellar for them. So you want to focus on yourself. You want to surround yourself with people that support you, that can help you, that can bring you up, that can give you the tips and tools that you need to keep going and to fight those feelings or the challenges you have or the feelings of overwhelm that you're having. So reach out to people and surround yourself with people who can help you as employees. I know not every CEO has a big budget and they're just starting out, or the economy is tanking and you might not have that money, but there's other resources, right? You've got young people right out of college, or people that need to make extra money as a side hustle, or it could be an intern. So whatever it is, delegate so you can do the big picture stuff. And to be able to reach me, you can reach me at my website at ElizabethKoraca.com, or any of my social media handles, which is Elizabeth Koraca. Oh, I forgot the at. But thank you for having me, Gresh. This was amazing.
Yes, this was definitely awesome. And we'll make sure to add the at and all the information in the show notes as well, so that everybody can find out about all the awesome things you're doing. But I definitely appreciate that reminder. I think so many times we get so focused on resources, but a lot of times we need to increase our resourcefulness and be able to think about how we can pivot and change and be able to make things happen. And I love that you mentioned, you said it a lot during the interview. And I think it just hits home, because you never get anything you don't ask for. So many times we might need help, we might need guidance, we might not know what the next step is going to be, but a lot of times if you reach out to those mentors and those people that are impactful in our lives, it helps us to be successful. So I appreciate that so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
You too. Thanks for having me.